Hello and welcome to Ultimate Pool Pairs Cup Highlight Show. It's the last 16 Group 3. The winner of this group will go through to finals night just before Christmas. Gareth Potts and Mark Selby will probably be the favourites for this group, but Andy Blurton and Neil Raybone, Scott Gillespie and Jamie Bennett, Dylan Leary and Matt Cook will want to have their say. On to our first match then, and it is Andy Blurton and Neil Raybone taking on Dylan Leary and Matt Cook.
For the team in green, and he has got a phenomenal break as well. Just to say that, of course he scratched it. All right, so just before we get properly going, it'll be Cook and Leary first to the table. Just run those new to the Pairs Cup through tonight's proceedings in case you've not seen it before. We are playing doubles, as you might have noticed. We are on races to 4 or races to 0 on the clock, whichever comes first. If a team, for example, was leading 2-0 and the clock stops dead, that is the result we will take, which means draws are in play too. We'll have a Scotch doubles frame, which means alternate shots. 2 frames of singles, Scotch, 2 frames of singles, and should it be required, a deciding Scotch doubles frame. The first one, as you can see, is Scotch doubles. It'll be Dylan and Matt with alternate shots here, playing international 8-ball rules, which is the easiest rule set you could ever hope to follow. And these guys are looking at reds. Pot all the reds, pot the 8-ball, win the frame. And it's a very, very simple game. But it can get very difficult very quickly, as just exhibited there by Matt Cook, who's overrun that by about 6 inches. And now they're in a little bit of bother.
Yeah, highlights Paul, doesn't it? The fact that, you know, if that cue ball pulls up 6 inches less, they're on the one to the bottom corner, and they'll probably make this finish look really, really simple. Now they're having to dig deep and come up with an alternative route to finish it off, which is the game, really. And that could have done with rolling a few more rolls. If they get straight in on that red to the right centre, again, they're in great shape. So they're still one good positional shot away from winning the frame, but it shouldn't be too tricky. They've just got to get past the 8-ball here. There's more room than you think.
I think as long as they're straight in on this one to the right centre, it should really be plain enough sailing.
They were fantastic when they came through only a few weeks ago. Good friends off the table, but gelled well on the table. I like the way they work together.
It's interesting, isn't it, how many of the last 16 pairings do have such a stellar relationship off the table. I think it's been so key from throughout the tournament that we've seen so far.
Well, that is exactly what we've got here tonight, isn't it? 4 pairs, 4 very close friends playing with each other. I think it matters. I think it makes a difference out there.
So first frame on the board is going to go to the Berkshire duo, Dylan Leary and Matt Cook.
Cut break for Matt, and no success from it.
Yeah, I think we'll see that a little bit tonight. Cut break is derided by some. There has been a bit of a cheap way out because it requires a little bit less. Let's have it right. It requires less skill to not pot the cue ball. That's the insurance policy of it. But it also gets the 8-ball moving a little bit more. Yeah, regularly.
I don't like to disagree with some of the legends of the game, but I do when it comes to that subject. I love to see it. I love to see the variety. And there's plenty of skill involved in the cut break, that's for sure.
Oh, I mean, the best exponents of the cut break, you can't deny them. I mean, think of, you know.
Oh, Neil.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Neil's got that one all wrong.
Yeah, he has.
These weren't laid out too bad. He had 1 ball to deal with. The rest were there. I think he's just trying to get on the top side of that yellow, play on one of the 2 reds, and I don't know whether he was trying to cannon it full ball or just finish on the top side of it, but one thing he couldn't do was come underneath it. And that could be huge. And you'd see here, we're in a singles frame, but this is exactly what I was saying with Dylan and Matt. They worked so well together. Dylan made himself available for Matt just to give him, you know, be there and, you know, help him out if he wants it. And now that Matt's made his decision, he sits back down and we'll let him go.
And as well, an interesting dynamic is we've got 4 quality pairs here. We've got 4 pairs where they'll almost certainly be almost a team captain. You know, for the 2 snooker players, it's obvious that Scott Gillespie and Gareth Potts will almost steer Jamie Bennett and Mark Selby through the night at times because of their superior 8-ball experience. But even in this pairing, you know, Dylan for Matt and Neil for Andy, the quality of their output in in the last 5 to 10 years is of such that, and their relationship with their partner is of such that they won't be afraid to share potential ideas, and they of course will be listened to.
Absolutely, everybody sees the game differently, and there's no. I mean, I like the way that Dylan did it there. He didn't. You're not getting up and going, "You must go this way," because that doesn't work. He's got up and he's just basically there if he wants to help. You know, I'm here. You know, I've got some ideas if you want me to get involved. Yellow on the break line, or not the break line, but the line in the braking area. May just want a little nudge on it. You could take it long. I think there's just enough of it showing, but I suspect a little nudge, possibly here. But if he does try and, well, he's going for the one on the cushion. I was going to say, if he does play the nudge now, it wouldn't be guaranteed to be on the next ball.
Biggest thing for Matt is finishing low on his final yellow, because he has to go up the table to make the 8 ball, which means he has to play a precise position.
Yeah, that one in the triangle area still worries me a little bit here. No thoughts of moving it at all. So does that tell us there's enough showing that he can just hold this? Yeah, that's what he's come around to have a look at. There's enough showing where he can just drop this in and take it. Be about half ball to the corner, so more showing than looks on our overhead.
Potted that one in the thin part of the pocket just to give himself that little bit of extra angle, and
he may have got just a shade straight on this in terms of he's not showing too much of a worry, but the straighter you are, the less showing to be able to actually make the pot. How much has he got? Look at this. This is tight. Yeah, red first. Red first. I worried me all the way through that visit.
Yeah, no nonsense. Scott Price on hand. He was right in on this. And you'll see it in perfect slow motion here. Watch the red. Yeah, no doubt about it. And Matt Cook knew straight away. You can see on his face. And, well, a big let-off for Neil Raybone, who gave Matt Cook the big chance to go 2-0 in front. And yeah, I'd be absolutely astonished if Neil Raybone doesn't get out from here.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say for Neil is the last time we saw him and they came through, they lost 4-0 in their opening match, and then they had to dig deep and ended up coming through a 6 red. Neil made some glaring errors in this sort of layout, and it was very jarring because you don't see it from Neil very often. He's very consistent, very clinical. But it really is hard to see how he can go wrong here.
Well, no glaring errors here for Neil Raybone. That's polished, and it's 1-1.
Andy Blurton put his partnership in front with a break clearance in the next frame.
That is not his level, but it also shows you how tough that Challenger Series can be.
Yeah, and it's open draw. You can draw absolutely anyone early on, and it's just one of those things. It doesn't necessarily always reflect, but he's the sort of player who will go into a weekend and fancy winning an event. That's his level, and that's probably what he's got to do in the Challenger Series in Blackpool on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And there's plenty of players for whom you could say that for. What are we on? Like 312 odd players in the total rankings list, and there's only 16 that can go up to the pros for next season. It's a shark tank. Back to the action here, though. Final 6 minutes and change of this opening match. And if they can get that low one into the middle pocket, they are in business here, and I think they can.
Yeah, just while we're talking about those challenges, Matt Cook, who's at the table now, will play the next shot. He's currently 16th in those rankings, so he's very much on the edge. He needs a solid weekend just to complete his job and make it into the pro ranks for next year. That looks perfect. Just wants to be able to come down, almost target the yellow, and then take the one nearest the cushion, and you can control your own path from there. The only thing here, he's just got to be careful because he's going to end up going further than he wants here. He wanted to finish, yeah, and he's purposely gone much further. Ideally, they had hit when they played the cannon on the yellow, they just flick off the other way so they could just play a little stun shot back, get themselves underneath the red and just track into the top half of the table, which they couldn't do. So actually, from a position of almost perfect, 2 shots later, they're actually working a little bit harder than they wanted to here.
Yeah, got to play a good shot here. Lovely. You see where Dylan actually marked on the rail with his finger, where he plotted the path of the cue ball and just used the yellow just to rest. He knew he had the line to make this red over the hole.
That wasn't as easy as it first looked. If he only had to pop that red, it's as easy as it gets. But if he just drops it in, then he's not on the 8 ball. So he had to pinch the pocket to be able to get the 8 ball out. He was absolutely plumb straight on that. If you top that through, you're in trouble and you're on the cushion, so you can't bring it back. So he's tried to just pinch the pocket, top it through on and off, and he's just over-pinched it. But that error all comes back to the cannon they made earlier on, where they just caught the wrong side of the yellow and stuck behind it rather than having clean access to the cue ball. Although the shot that Neil's just played means they might get back to the table. They might be in trouble, though, if this is touching ball, which it looks like it is. Oh, even if it wasn't, they've still hit a cushion after contact, so they laid the easy snooker.
It's a difficult game, this. It is a very difficult game.
Fine margins.
These top players have an almost annoying habit of making it look very, very easy. It's almost, in my view, refreshing when every now and then it goes wrong. It just reminds you they are indeed human.
Well, that's it. I mean, we obviously commentate and watch a lot of this game, and you think, oh, this game's just so easy, and then you go out there and play it for yourself, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute. No, it isn't.
Yeah, and you're saying that from a former pro-level player perspective. Imagine what it's like for me.
Key visit now. They should clear these up. They know that, although he just left a slightly off angle here. Could have done with leaving a lot more angle just to be able to come out into the wide open space. Yeah, just off straight the wrong way, so having to accept short position. Just means they might not get as nicely behind the last yellow as they want, but it should still be fine. Good angle here, I think. Yeah, it's perfect. Just off straight the right way. Big error from Matt and Dylan. Could be huge over the course of the night.
There we go. There we go.
And that would be enough for the win as the clock ran out in the next frame. On to our second match then, and it's Potts and Selby versus Gillespie and Burnett, and it was the Scottish duo that won the opening frame. Mark Selby has the break in frame 2.
Jamie Burnett is yet to be defeated by Mark Selby. He's got a winning record over him, 3-0 I think it is. As I say, it's an incredibly small sample size over a long time ago, but that's never a bad thing to have if you're Jamie Burnett, is it?
I mean, there's a lot of people that would love to have a record like that against Mark Selby. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's you saw that though on the bio there. Holds the record for the highest competitive break in snooker, which is a serious achievement. That will take some beating as well. Can't happen very often.
Yeah, it's a freak, isn't it?
Yeah. Good break here from Mark.
It's a lovely opening shot as well.
A good chance to respond to what we've seen in the opening frame. Yellow in the top of the table though. If it doesn't go top left, good position required onto either centre or opposite corner pocket, but everything now in the open for Mark.
One of the big differences between the games isn't just the size of the table. One of the biggest things we hear from the snooker players who play 8-ball is the size and weight of the balls is a big one. It's a huge difference to the snooker table in that sense. And this game is all about your cue ball control and precise patterns and all the rest of it. And you'd think snooker would marry over really, really easily to that, but because it is such a different game, it's not as easy a transition as some might think.
Well, I do like to think of it as they're completely different games, but if you've got all the tools you need, if you're a great snooker player, you have all the tools you need to be a great pool player in terms of your cueing and your ability, but actually, can you see the puzzle? Can you understand the game is a whole nother deal, and just because you're good at one doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be good at the other.
I really enjoyed what Mark said in his interview with yourself, where he said it'd be really interesting to see how the snooker players who've been announced as wildcards for the 2023 tour get on, because he thinks there's a good chance a few of them will struggle against the top boys on a consistent basis. And I think he's right, but there's a fair few people who think that's a stupid thing to say, but I think he's absolutely correct.
I think the guys that have been signed up will agree with Mark. They're obviously coming in, but they're not going to. They're coming in wanting to win, but that doesn't mean they're in for an easy ride. It's top level pool players. It's another deal understanding this game. But the one thing that Mark Selby has is he does understand this game. He's a former champion in this game, former world champ.
Yeah, his last ever game competitively as a singles player in 8-ball was at the World Championships in 2007. Got to speed with the break. It's 1-1 after just coming up to 12 minutes. It's not quite the pace of frames you'd expect to see from these two.
No, it's not. That opening frame took a lot out of it. Break clearance from Mark in the previous one, but he mentioned the break from Scott Gillespie in the opening frame. When we see it again here, he's coming right across that front ball. He's having to break with his playing cue, his break cue. Tip came off just before play, and it's a different size tip, completely different weight, completely different feel out there, and that he's going to be coming across that ball a fair bit, I think, with the break tonight. He might be better served trying to get Jamie in with a break as much as possible. So a good chance here for Gareth. All the reds in the open, as in they all have pockets, but this is the sort of layout that we talk about a lot when it comes to those patterns. It's can you pick the route, can you pick the pattern to make this a simple finish, because this is the sort of layout that can get away from you if you don't get that pattern right. Gareth clearing all the ones at the bottom first, because the 8-ball he wants to take down the table, so he wants to leave a red in the top half as last ball to be able to get on the 8-ball. It would be much harder to get on the 8-ball nicely from any of the reds in the bottom half of the table. The reason for going this way round. Just got to be careful with this shot. You could easily slide off this yellow and just end up in an awkward space. That's why he's playing it absolutely dead weight, and he has slid off it and ended up awkward. Yeah, he's in a spot of bother here. I think it goes long, the one he's nearest to, but not an easy shot. Oh, he's having to go bottom left, is he? This is tough. This is very tough. And it's not going to land.
Well, well, well. It's not gone to plan so far. Of that, there is no doubt. Scott Gillespie then with a good chance to put distance between the two pairings, and at this juncture of the match, wouldn't be a bad thing to do.
Oh, Scott's turn to not play a particularly good shot. I think he was trying to avoid the yellow altogether, play on the one on the bottom and go from there, but it'll have to be the plant, but not too tricky for him. As he shows there, for me this is all about the one on the right hand side, which Shouldn't be too difficult to get good position on because you've got the one above the centre pocket. But you want to clear the one at the top of the table first. I imagine the one on the cushion then will become the last ball.
15-second shot clock in play.
Oh, he's a little bit short. So if his pattern was to try and get on the one on the top of the table now, he doesn't really have a good angle to do it.
We're now on to the 15-second shot clock, as you heard our referee Scott Price call. Final 5 minutes of our 20-minute matches are played to 15 seconds a shot, which is rapid. He'll take that.
He's on the next ball. Not easy to get the cue ball out far enough to be on the yellow he's just moved. He'd have to get to a good 6-8 inches off the cushion from not much angle. Tried to force it. Hasn't worked. Hampered cueing on that shot as well. Eight ball still needs to be gone on here. It looks easy, but pressure on now at this point. Gets on it as good as you possibly can.
Thinks about wasting a little bit of clock, decides against it. Gareth Potts gets the job done. 2-1 then.
Gareth Potts and Mark Selby made a break clearance in the next Scotch frame to go 2 frames clear. Scott Gillespie now has the break.
He was actually in the comms box. Oh, that 8 ball was really travelling. What a break, by the way. So they do need a quick visit here, and they've got a chance to do just that.
You felt for them to have a chance of getting back into it that you needed a golden break on this one, because 2 frames in a minute and 10 seconds is a tall order, but a golden break required. Obviously, they don't get to break the next frame. And that 8 ball was tracking to that top corner. It was just kicked out the way.
Well, he's got a bit of a penchant for it in a golden break, does Scott Gillespie.
Yeah.
He's got form. And it will be a quick visit to the table here. So Jamie Burnett might still have a chance to get his trainers on.
God, that was a good shot. Oh, that was serious, how good that was.
Yeah, made that look so easy, but that's a brilliant visit to the table from Scott Gillespie. But also doesn't want a foul break either, because if it's re-racked, chance for Jamie Burnett to hit a golden break, which is not what he wants. Needs 3 to go past. Just about.
Yeah, there you go.
And that'll do it.
Look at that cue ball straight up the middle of the table, and yeah, job done.
Job done. So the perfect start then for Gareth Potts and Mark Selby.
Jamie Burnett and Scott Gillespie were straight back in action, this time up against Dylan Leary and Matt Cook.
Which means they must win this one. They can technically still qualify with a draw, but it would need other results to go their way in a pretty major way. If they draw this one, the only way they can both qualify is via a 4-way 6-red shootout. So not impossible, but let's just say that there's been, well, what week are we on now? So there's been nearly 50 weeks of the Pairs Cup in total over the last couple of years. We've never yet seen one.
Well, tonight's as good a night as any to have it happen, actually. 4 great pairs, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility it could happen. But I have to say, after Scott Gillespie's first 2 breaks, we were a little bit worried for him on the break, but his last 2, he's absolutely flushed as good as you can. So he's certainly found range with his playing cue. I think Jamie may have been playing a little flick on the yellow there, just going by his reaction. Didn't necessarily need to. Too tricky to work back round, play the plant on that yellow, and everything should be fine from there. It may have been one where he thought he was getting the flick and therefore played it rather than actually wanted it. Awkward queuing coming up now for Scott Gillespie. played that one well. The one by the right centre actually isn't a great last ball. It could end up being their last ball now, but if they play the plant now, I think they can hold and then play the one over the middle, and it leaves the one over the bottom left last ball. Wouldn't be too bad. It's just the reason I mentioned it. I'm not sure if Scott thought he was getting a little cannon on the red there. He's just over on it a fraction.
So much so, do you consider playing it now?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
He's having a look, he is.
This is a huge shot now. I'm with you. I think he could take the one over the pocket and just drop back up, but he might be worried about overrunning it again.
Cued that a dream. Wants to run. Has he got it? I think so. Just.
Yeah, just about.
Lovely. Good visit to the table. Perfect start for Scott Gillespie and Jamie Burnett, who just have to reset after the last match, which ended in defeat.
I do enjoy the fact that you're still trying to work hard on getting Lewis's nickname in to Dracula.
Oh, I'm fully expecting a WhatsApp in a moment, and I might get shouted at for that. Not by Lewis, I hasten to add. Who's told me he's all for it.
I'm all for it. I know that. Good
Great.
break here from Dylan. Needs to respond. If he's on the one to the bottom left now, if there's enough of it showing, it's perfect. If not, then it probably needs a nudge, but gut feel is he's on this. Yeah, Yo clearly is. It's an interesting decision about which way round he goes about the four yellows. The 8 ball looks so easy, but amazing how easy it is for those reds to get in the way.
Sit.
Oh, he's not going to get that far. Disappointment for Dylan. Interesting decision to try and not play on the one he cannoned and went in off. In an ideal world, he would have liked to have cleared those two first and left the two in the bottom of the table, but doesn't matter now. Now he's gone in off. It's Jamie Burnett with a wide open table. Nothing in the way here. Just hold yourself steady. 2-0 awaits. Jamie Burnett's season on the Challenger Series has been an interesting one for me, because since retiring from snooker, a lot of people thought he'd come into the pool world and go really well, and for all the reasons we've already talked about, Stephen, it's not that easy. He's going well without setting the world alight. Somewhere in around the 60th place. In fact, he's 59th in the Challenger rankings. But the more he plays, the stronger he's going to get. And if he doesn't finish top 16 this year, I think he'll go close next year. He's really enjoying playing pool, and the challenge of a new challenge.
Yeah, and you can see with the way that he plays the game, the way that he hits the balls, that's a really proper technique that'll stand him in such good stead.
Oh, the more, I mean, he's got that side of it. It's just, like, as we've talked about, just understanding and learning the game, which he's getting stronger and stronger.
Looking all right now.
Yeah, he's certainly going through this really nicely, and it would not surprise me to see him turn up next week and take down a big title at the Challenger Series.
Scott Gillespie made it 3-0 with a break clearance, and that is where it would stay as a tactical fourth frame allowed the clock to run down. On to our fourth match then, where the two winners from our opening round of games meet. It's Blurton and Raybone versus Potts and Selby.
Winner of this takes control of the group for the time being. Scott Gillespie and Jamie Burnett stayed alive in our last match. Dylan Leary and Matt Cook are out. As Potts hits a lovely opening break to kick things off. That'll be he and Selby at the table first. Winner of this will go to 2 wins and will mean that if they win their final match of the group, they're through. Job done. 3 wins out of 3. Don't worry about it. But if it's a draw, that really throws the cat amongst the pigeons. And also worth pointing out as well that were it to be Andy Blurton and Neil Raybone to win, they still have to play Scott Gillespie and Jamie Burnett, who if they won that match in round 3, then we might be primed for a 3-way 6-red shootout. It's all things are in play here, put it that way.
Absolutely, and I think if you're Jamie and Scott, you would probably want Blurton and Raybone to win this, because at least you know that you go into your final match destiny in your own hands. If you win, you're in a 6-red shootout. Any other result, then they would need other results to go their way. But match 4 is always the key match in these groups. So one problem ball dealt with here. Good angle to deal with the other. Not guaranteed to land on anything though. And that's not great. Options, but not ideal. So going top right, has to slide by the red. If he flicks the red, he could go in off. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. Okay, might need a little bend here from Mark. He needed one more roll. Oh, he's going to go off the cushion first, but making the yellow isn't the problem. If he makes the yellow on the wrong side, as in if he hits the top side of the yellow, he's snookered himself on the 8 ball. Has to hit the underside of the yellow here.
What a showstopper of a clearance this is. The dream team showing us how it's done. That was a fairly routine shot for a player of Mark Selby's ability, but the one before from Gareth Potts wasn't a fairly routine shot. That was a little bit special.
Mark Selby made it 2-0 with a reverse clearance. Gareth Potts has the break in frame 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice little fist bump between Andy and Gareth before this match. They'll know each other really well, having both played in this part of the world for a number of years. Gareth will know all about how good Andy is. And he eventually makes a ball. I thought for a second it was going to come up dry, but looks like a last ball roll in. As Gareth Potts says his best teapot impression, just to swing it into that lower corner, help it in.
Yeah, the disgust on his face when you get, because he hit that break really well. Control was fantastic up the middle of the table, and you're almost hearing for the balls fly in, and they didn't originally, and then he's starting around the table thinking, is anything going to drop here? Is anything going close? Eventually one did. 8 ball's gone to a really awkward position, but the yellows are in a nice spot here, although his opening shot isn't ideal. Better shot than it looked, although the yellow has gone awkward on the left-hand side as well, so two problems now on the table. They're not major problems, they still go, but does he want to bump the 8 at any point? Could do it now, but does it get in the way of the yellows near the right centre pocket? Stays away from it. I think he'd love to have cleared the yellows on the left-hand side to get back to where he is now, because if he could leave the two yellows on the right-hand side last two, then they connect up to the 8 ball to the top right, but he can't do that from where he is, so clearing balls that would be good last balls.
Yeah, this is a tricky finish from here. May elect. I'll cancel my last.
So if he leaves the one in the middle of the table, doesn't get the angle he wants to get behind it, it's not too bad to get on the double. It's not in a brilliant place for the double. I think it's absolutely welded to the cushion. It might be the smallest gap.
Yeah, there's a small gap, I think, but it's not much. It's certainly not ideal for a double. You can see there where he's trying to land.
Yeah, so that tells us he doesn't want the double. Double would be last resort. So he's going to be trying to leave this high, come off the bottom cushion, avoid the red, and then he's tracking down the line towards the 8 ball. It tells us there is a little bit of a gap. It's quite close to that jaw. It just makes the double. If that's a ball higher, we'd be talking about the double, but he's a little bit short here. Cue ball's going to have a lot of pace in this one. Cue ball's got too much pace. Do you know what? He'll be happy with this.
I was just about to say that.
I think he knew he had too much pace and he accepted that and was just then trying to get high on it. He actually flicked off it. Could have gone a lot worse than it has.
Tough pot, though. This for 3-0. Yeah, that'll do. Trickled it down that rail. Absolute dead weight. He's got a little helping hand.
Andy Blurton and Neil Raybone got on the scoreboard in the next frame with a break clearance in the Scotch doubles frame. Gareth Potts now has the break in frame 5.
Well, they needed some help, and on the evidence of that break, it's not coming anytime soon, although this finish has a little bit of mileage in it. Gareth has to navigate a tricky top part of the table here.
I have to say, I think Gareth's taking something off his break tonight. He's controlling that cue ball beautifully, he always does. Doesn't seem to be the absolute full power that we see from Gareth.
Yeah, the cue's only bending at maybe like a 90-degree angle.
Exactly, not quite as much bend in that cue. So one problem at the top of the table. Looks like he's going straight after it.
He certainly was, although that is a terrible result.
He's going to need another developing shot.
5.5 minutes left. The interest of Blurton and Raybone in this frame just peaks a little bit. Because yellows are now really tough.
Going into it again.
They're still tough.
Yeah, that's not come out. What can he do here?
Right now, you would absolutely rather be reds.
Yeah, I think Gareth will probably keep digging here. And that could get dicey quickly. Is there some sort of shot he can manufacture into the right centre, or is it a plant into the left centre?
Yellow off the red, is that what he's seen?
That's his tight.
He's trying to play direct.
Yeah, half his thinking there, though, is the safety side of the shot. He was trying to get the cue ball into a nice safe area, get the yellow in and amongst the two reds there. Hasn't really done what he wanted to do in terms of making a mess of that centre pocket. Okay, the other part of the shot he's done okay. He's left a tricky shot for Neil.
Lovely pot. From the Willenhall potter. That's nice. Very clever.
Yeah, very clever indeed.
That's made the pattern infinitely easier from a player who's been doing it for such a long time. He's a wizard of his patterns, is Neil Raybone.
He's still going to need a good angle on his last red to get onto the 8 ball. If he comes up short of the straight, he's got a problem. He needs to get at least straight, ideally a roll past it. And he's not straight here. This is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just saw him pointing his cue now. Best case here is he gets somewhere near the break line, not far from where he is now. And he's a long way short.
This is thin.
Oh, he can still pot it, but...
How'd you like these? Back to the wall for 3-2. This is tough. Shots. Brilliant counter clearance from the Razor. And all of a sudden...
A quick break clearance from Andy Blurton tied the scores up. Gareth Potts now has the break with 40 seconds left on the clock.
It's on, it's doable. Gareth does hold the record at 28 seconds, but the golden break is probably the most likely to win the match.
8 ball stays resolutely still. It's going to be dry, is it? Yeah, all right then, Andy and Neil. What can you do? 33 seconds to win the match.
They don't exactly come out rushing here.
No. They've not exactly flown out the gates.
Yeah, they're accepting the draw here. Just going to pop 2 or 3 balls. Take the draw. Do you know what? There was worth a chance of a rush because there's actually a reasonable finish on if that first shot had gone well. Not now, it's draws accepted.
Well, this group just got very, very interesting indeed. Honours even. Winning a draw for both Blurton, Raybone and Potts, Selby.
Gareth Potts and Mark Selby were straight back in action, needing a win to put the pressure on. They lost the opening frame to Matt Cook and Dylan Leary, who had a break clearance. Mark Selby now has the break in frame 2.
Certainly putting tonight's favourites bang under it. Another excellent break from Mark Selby, who's been breaking really well tonight.
Yeah, I think if he keeps working hard on his game, he could be some player, this lad.
He's got a future. Not actually been rewarded, considering the quality of the break. Not being rewarded with the best of layouts here. Has he got the angle he needed? I think he wanted the cue ball to be right on that top cushion so he could go past the red and hit the red and yellow together. Is he just about okay to force it? He certainly is. Could have done with being a touch straighter on the yellow to the centre pocket. Also got the yellow on the right-hand side to work out. This is still far from a good chance. Remember, they lost the opening frame, so the more he keeps going here, that if he doesn't manage to get it, he's going to leave a wide open counter clearance. That was nicely controlled.
Yeah, it was.
So the way he's eyeing up the yellow on the right-hand side, it doesn't go, the red stops it, but I think the red over the pocket means he can play it off that red. I think that's his thinking. Yeah, no attempt to move the yellow there. It was only to play on it. Would love to have been absolutely straight, so he could just play it, have everything in his vision, and just hold on the yellow into the middle. Now he has to play a positional shot with it.
Yeah, this is tough.
Oh, it went straight. Oh, it made a world of difference. Did not look like that went at all.
Yeah, it was much easier than I thought it was going to be.
Absolutely. It made a massive difference.
I really thought that was going to be much tougher, but no, in it goes. He's made the game look really simple there, Mark Selby. Anyone would think he's done this before. #1 fans in the house.
8 ball, no, it was tracking, just didn't have the pace on it.
Oh, but how's the cue ball? Not Ben Dillon and Matt's night tonight. And that can happen. We've seen it enough times in enough groups that for whatever reason it just doesn't quite happen for one team. It usually happens to someone in a group of 4. It's just about knowing which one it's going to be, and looks like Dylan and Matt drew that tonight. It's been difficult for them.
Yeah, the in-off, which hit the cut break really well, so unlucky to go in-off. It hasn't made a huge amount of difference because he was dry anyway, so he's going to leave a good chance wherever the cue ball finished. A fiddly finish here that he's just going to pick apart. Doesn't actually have to move anything. Everything goes. And it'll get easier the further through he goes if he can keep control of that cue ball.
Yeah, it's one of those finishes that you take one look at it and you think, ooh, this looks tricky. It looks fiddly. It looks hard. And these top players with their pristine cue ball control can make it look very, very simple indeed. It's a real art form.
Well, we talk about cue ball control. I think he's just come up a roll short there. I think the plan was to come up another roll or 2 up the table to take the yellow off the red. Or he's gone to roll too far, whichever way you want to look at it. But he has an alternative route that he can take. Of course, going to the bottom left, he may well have always played it this way, but just the way the body language he pulled off, just made me think maybe not. Still very clean all the way through this.
Yeah, brilliant. One of the best in the world. One of the best ever in this form of the game. And it's clearances like that which show that off, really. That's proper high tariff stuff. Oh, he gets kicked in off. There's the face he pulls. Can understand why. He hit this break beautifully. He's hit all of them beautifully. That's harsh.
Yeah, that is a tough one. That was tracking pretty central up the middle of the table, which is absolutely what he was trying to do. And I said the previous one didn't make a huge amount of difference because it was dry. That's not the case here. This is a big difference. One shot to play, one shot played. Now they are all there. Just this one yellow guarded by the reds that they need to get onto the bottom left, and they are really nicely on it. just having a discussion. They'd love to have the one in the middle of the table, last ball, if you can get straight on it, but not guaranteed to get straight in on it. Don't think it goes to either top pocket, which I think you've come a little bit too straight on the one at the bottom. They didn't want to use the one on the bottom to get on the 8 ball. This has to be hit well. A little bit short. So now the cue ball has to go up the table, and it brings into play all those reds.
Yeah, a bit of a minefield to navigate. Elected to hold it. Is he still on it?
Not sure. Doesn't look like it from the overhead. Dylan had a very... Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. It was tough. Yes, the yellow in the middle of the table is a perfect last ball if you can get good on it, but they were not guaranteed to get good on it, and therefore maybe it isn't the right choice.
Cross treble. Well, big chance then for the Selby Potts combination. And that's been a bit indicative of these two's night. It's a quarter of a ball, that's all it was.
Yeah, and a visit to the table that hurts Jamie Burnett and Scott Gillespie more than it hurts Matt and Dylan out there, because they really do need Matt and Dylan to do them a favour.
Yeah, having already lost to these two, Burnett and Gillespie need some help.
Yeah, reminder, if Potts and Selby win, the Scottish pairing can no longer go through. Just awkward. Might have to go long. Yeah, he is going long. Wanted to be straight in on the one in the middle.
Selby knocks in a simple 8 ball for 3-1 up, and one frame away from securing, at worst, a 6-red shootout.
A dry break from Dylan Leary allowed Mark Selby to complete victory with a reverse clearance. On to our final game. Neil Raybone and Andy Blurton need to win to make it a 6-red shootout, and they have the opening break against the Scottish duo of Scott Gillespie and Jamie Burnett.
Here, Andy Blurton and Neil Raybone must win. Anything else, and Potts and Selby are through.
Cracking opening break from Andy Blurton. Good chance then to get off to a solid start here. Only question here, does the yellow that's touching the red in the top half of the table go left centre? I don't think it does. Would it go top right once the other ones are out the way? Possibly. Or does it need a nudge? Everything else goes comfortably. I think if they can see the one over the pocket and just rest into the red, the other one goes to the opposite side, and then that pocket is open for the other yellow that I'm talking about. If they have to play the plant, then it could go wrong. Yeah, they did have to play the plant, but it's gone well. Excellent shot from Neil. Played it at a pace where the yellow was going to come back out rather than sitting behind. If they play that pocket weight, they get themselves in a mess.
Yeah, they're in great shape here. Lovely visit to the table so far from the local heroes.
Slight grimace from Neil, but they're not really in bad shape here. I think he's just worried that when he plays this one, he's likely to leave the one over the right centre low, and I think that may have been his original plan, but you can take the one over the bottom corner first and leave the one in the centre for last if they want to. In the end, he comes off the bottom cushion to keep the one over the bottom corner last ball.
Yeah, they're in lovely shape here. Superstar, perfect visit to the table from Andy and Neil. Super stuff. They lead by a frame to nil in a match that they must win. Yeah, it's been very, very impressive.
Good break from Scott once again. Struggled with the break on the first couple of breaks. If you were with us earlier, had an issue with his break cue and having to break with his playing cue, but okay, miss hit this one a little bit more than a few others, but another good result from his break.
Red balls in hand.
Needs a good angle on the red in the middle of the table to connect down the table, and then just has to guard against finishing straight on the one at the bottom of the table, which is likely to be his last ball. In fact, that's the reason he's coming down the table first. I quite like this. Much easier to get on the 8 ball from reds at the top of the table. Still has to be careful on this pot, but also when playing the one into the left centre pocket that the yellow doesn't get in the way. You could flick it thin, and well, that's why he's coming this way, leaving the one over the top right last ball, just to stop it getting in the way. Giving yourself guaranteed shot, even if it's from further away. I like his choices in this visit. I say a guaranteed shot from further away. I'm sure he wanted it a little bit closer than this. Yeah, this is now a tough shot. Requires just a good bit of cueing.
Yeah, good shot. Lovely visit to the table from Scott Gillespie. Very professional visit to the table.
Neil Rayburn put his partnership back in front with a break clearance, and they now have a chance in frame 4 to go 2 clear.
8 balls. Oh, I thought for a second he just pinched too much of that pocket, but no problems. I was going to say the 8 ball's the only ball that's slightly tricky to get on the table. Everything else is fine.
Oh, we were lucky to see some more inspiring shots at the recent mini-series. I think we did even see a quadruple, didn't we, from Emma Cunningham in that one?
Yeah, we saw a couple actually. Some big shots played in that mini-series.
Oh, Neil.
Neil, that's huge.
4 minutes left.
Part of the thinking there from Neil was trying to open up that 8 ball. Took his eye off the pot. And oh, that's massive, isn't it? That is absolutely massive. Okay, there's still work here for Scott and Jamie, but the double going in helps. Probably have to play the cannon here. And then at some point they've got to go up for the yellow at the top of the table. But, oh, Neil and Andy should have won this frame and been too clear. Remember, they're out with a draw.
Yeah, right now the happiest people in the venue are Mark Selby and Gareth Potts, because they can qualify here without having to swing their cues again.
I'm really
in the state of this match.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Jamie didn't play a little cannon there. Just that 8 ball looks incredibly tight, and they're going to be trying to get onto it from the one at the top of the table. It just doesn't look like there's any room for it. Oh, good flick for them, but oh, he's going to have to be very precise here. Does he just have to turn it in a shade? It's going to be awfully close to the red here.
Scott Price having a very good look.
Look good.
And he's happy enough.
Yeah, look good.
2-2, 2:25 to play. The next frame is absolutely massive.
This time Neil gets his cue ball better, and he gets the power going through the pack, and he gets the split at the split that they absolutely needed. This is a great chance to go back in front to right the wrongs of the previous miss pot.
Yeah, they get a great split and they're in a great spot.
I tried to say it both in the same sentence.
Yeah, let's call it a spot. They're in a great spot here. Brilliant chance for Neil Rayburn. Just what they were after. So often. Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's 3 missed pots from Neil in the last frame and a half.
Oh, that's a shocker.
And the last 2 are going to really hurt them, because a minute 45 here, and Scott Gillespie can take his time and try and clean these up.
Oh, that's an absolute sitter. And it's going to have huge ramifications.
Massive, because this is not a difficult counter clearance at all. They all just connect. You just got to try and get somewhere near straight in on the one to the bottom left in after he's cleared these 3 at the top, and then it's pretty much job done. Oh, it's going to be a tough one. A really tough one for Neil Raybone to take.
Can't believe it. You don't see those sorts of missed pots very often at all, let alone a player of the quality of Neil Raybone. That is a shocker.
Yeah, 2 and 2 frames, and missed the one down the cushion in the previous frame as well.
Yeah, the one down the cushion I can forgive, but the last 2 really weren't great, and it's going to cost them. It's going to cost them dearly.
This is their only hope. I know it's a fairly regulation shot for Scott Gillespie, but it's their only hope, because if he knocks this in and holds the white, it is over.
Yeah, never in doubt. Never in doubt. Well, what a huge mistake. Has a little look at the watch. He wants to end the game right here, Scott Gillespie. He's not sure if he has to play it. He does so just in case. Will we have time?
There was enough time for one more break, but it didn't affect the result, as Scott Gillespie and Jamie Burnett complete victory, which qualifies through Mark Selby and Gareth Potts to finals night of the Ultimate Pool Pairs Cup.